How you going, guys? Welcome back to another episode. On this one, we'll hopefully see the motor start up for the first time. Got a few accessories to put on, manifold, and then plug the harness in. Apart from that, it should be all good to go. I can worry about the AccuSump and a few other bits and pieces later. No point getting too carried away in case this thing doesn't fire for whatever reason. I don't know the full history on the motor, so I don't know when it was last running. These motors are starting to get a little bit old now, so there's a chance it might have been sitting around for a little while. Not a huge deal though, might just be a bit rough first few startups, but we'll see how we go. I will kick off with some of the accessories down here, I think. So I'm going to go power steering, alternator, and then fit the water pump, and then I'll go on to putting the radiator in. I think that's probably pretty important too. Got the alternator here, which I might swap out for this one, which came with the motor. It looks a bit nicer. Got to put the water pump on and power steering. And then I think I'll go with manifold last, and then I can plug all the rest of the harness in and hook up the fuel lines. Going to kick off with the alternator and the power steering, and then we'll put the water pump on, I think. There we are, alternator on. I'll fish the plug out from down here and plug that bad boy on. I wanted to use the other one, but the plug's different. Pop that in there. Pull that wire back a bit. This wire there tucks down and runs underneath to the starter. Now, what do we got next? Power steering pump, I think, next. Okay, so power steering mounted, alternator mounted. I've got my power steering lines down here. I'll hook them up in a sec. I've left the bracket at work, so if I want to start this up this weekend, I might have to zip tie this bad boy out of the way, but we'll see what happens. We'll see how far we get. What next? So sway bar is remounted as well. And yeah, like I said, I'm asking what next. I just said what next, this, and then I'll put the water pump on. I've got most of the main accessories hooked on and plumbed up now. While I was underneath tightening up engine mounts, I did plug in a fair few wires and that sort of stuff. So really I'm only left with the top wiring harness for injectors. I've got to hook up the fuel lines after I pop the manifold on, put my oil pressure sensor in as well. I'll jump onto probably the water pump now. So I'll stick that on, fresh gaskets of course. Stick that on, then we will work on the manifold. Okay, water pump is on, and I'll probably just swap this out now for the right sensor because I've got the HKS gauge, so I'm going to swap that out. I've got the right fittings from the other one. Yank that out, then I think probably time to put this manifold into place. Probably plug some of these guys in now, so I know that one sits back here and that's going to not be easy to get to with the manifold on, so I'll clip that bad boy in there. And I know there's an earth one, there it is, on the back as well, so I'll find a bolt that guy on, make sure all the fuel lines are sitting where they're going to need to, the fuel pressure reg there, and this one will essentially flop down here, which I might move it there now and then drop the manifold in here, and then that's out of the way. So I'll find a bolt for that. There is a plug down here somewhere for this. There we are, there it is. I'll plug the oil pressure gauge in now. That's all done there. That wire runs down, cool. So what I think I'll do next is get the manifold ready. There we go, manifold all done up. Time to plug in some of these and plug in the front bits. So I'll do some plugging in quickly and we'll jump to then putting the radiator in. Okay, so before I put the radiator on, I had to go out to work anyway. I grabbed the bracket that I needed so I can put that on, and a sensor that was still in the old head that I left out there too. But I'll put these on and then we'll cut to a time lapse of the radiator going on, I think. Radiator is, well, somewhat mounted. I'll put the coolant lines on, or the radiator hoses, and well, these are sort of a coolant line because they go to the water air cooler. Then I'll put the water to air coolers on, fill her up with some oil, put some fluid in the power steering, hook the battery up and see if this thing fires. Let's see if this thing will fire up. It probably won't. I did see that, but I don't know what...
It's water, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's white. Nothing in here should be white.
Is it white? Or is that just what's on the
Matt,
ground?
did you jizz under here?
That's just what's on the ground, I think.
Tell you what I need to find is what goes in here. Because I've just stuck a bolt in there for now, but it's not even the right thread, and it's actually quite warm already. But the coolant temp sensor is down in here, so it's not that, but it starts. Let's see what that leak is and we'll try and get it running up a bit more. So it's the next day. I've waited for everything to cool down because I don't know if you could tell in the video or just before, but it was spraying out quite a bit of fuel from here. Fuel and hot turbos don't mix. So I shut it off pretty quick, didn't run it up that much, just enough to see if it would run and start, which it does. The plan was always to pull these injectors out anyway and go get them tested. So I've got to pull these out, number them, and that way, I mean, part of it was if these two injectors test that they're blocked or anything, I can chalk that up to causing the issue where the motor snapped two rods. If they all test out all right, I'm probably going to have to chalk it up to the lack of oil capacity and the fact that I was giving it an absolute belting. So I'll whip these out though and then get ready to send them off for testing. Laid out in order. So I've got left bank, right bank. So we've got number 1 there, 2 there. So I'm going to number these with my paint pen. So that's number 1 there. God, that could be absolutely anything. It's an 8. Oh. God, I've stuffed that up. All right, they're all numbered. 1, 2, got them all, let them dry, and then I'll put them in a bag. I'll send them off to get tested. Got all the injectors back, all flow tested, new baskets, new O-rings. So we can cross that off the list of cause of failure because they all tested fine, they're all good. I'll stick these back in, hopefully I won't have any leaks this time. I'll be able to run it up, get it up to temp a bit more. Just mainly going to check first to see if there's any leaks, oil or coolant. Well, it's not going to be coolant, it's going to be water. So that's what I was going to say. I've got water in the radiator at the moment. That's a tip I've always been shown. Fill them up with water for the first startups. That way, if there is a leak anywhere, you're only leaking water out. You're not wasting all your coolant. Which brings me to this. I've got some Penrite have hooked me up with some coolant there. I've got a few other goodies from them as well. I've got some brake fluid that I can flush the system out with, some diff oil and gearbox oil and some engine oil and that sort of stuff to top it back up. I'll get to that, stick these injectors in and hopefully fire this bad boy up with no leaks and running a bit nicer. A bit of a bastard to push in with their fresh O-ring, so I'm just going to stand up here and lean on some stuff. And really falling out. I'll line them up. I need to get over the top of them. I'm lacking some upper body strength. If I line them all up and get them even and lean on that rail, they should all just pop in. Injectors all done up, injectors, well plugged in and done up and put into place, whatever. The injectors are done. I will pre-prime the pumps, the fuel pumps, to see, that way I can check if there's any spurting out action. And oh, okay, maybe I won't be. I think I've got a flat, yeah, okay. All right, I got a flat battery, so some idiot left the battery ISO on. What I'll do then, I'll put it on charge, and then after I've charged up, so this will be a tomorrow job now. Once I've got some charge, I'll prime them up. That way I'll be able to see if there's any fuel spurting out, making everything all wet and a mess. I'll know straight away. So I'll do that, put this thing on charge. Charger here. So down here, I've got a couple of terminals linked straight to the battery, so I can hook my charger onto that, because believe me, this is not the first time this has happened. So I'll hook that up, get this thing on charge. Tomorrow morning, come down all charged up, we'll fire it up and see, well, we'll check that there's no leaks and then we'll fire it up. We'll get it up to temp. Okay, third time lucky. Let's try and start this bad boy. Hopefully I've got enough charge in there. I'll do the old clamp it on. Let's see how we go. Let's have a crack. Hopefully there's enough charge. drop of water underneath. I think it's just a bit of condensation, nothing major. I'll then be able to swap the coolant out in the next episode, work on putting the coolers in, and then hopefully plumb up the Accu sump and then fill it all with fresh oil. I'll put just whatever in there at the moment, just for the first few startups. Then I'll dump it straight away, clean it all out, make sure if there's any muck or anything, away it goes. So it sounds pretty tidy though, sounds nice and healthy, running on all cylinders. So that'll about wrap it up.